Welcome a new member to our stuffed animal collectio, the hardworking Sloth. Do you all have all the materials ready? Watch the video carefully. And let's get started right away.
Insert the needle into the handle, leaving about 2.5 centimeters of the tip exposed. Once the needle is in place, tighten the screw firmly. If the needle tip starts to sink in, just adjust it and retighten the screw. Now that the needle is ready, let's move on to threading the yarn. First, remove the cap at the back of the needle. Take the threader and insert it from the needle's tip through to the end. Thread the yarn through the threader and pull it back through the needle. Once the yarn is out at the needle tip, remove the threader. Leave about 5 centimeters of yarn sticking out from the needle. Make sure the yarn goes through the little hole at the needle tip. That's what keeps it from slipping out while you stitch. Let's go through the punching techniques. Always keep that slanted side facing up and pointing in your stitch direction. If stitching upward, make sure the slant points upward. If stitching sideways, rotate the needle in that direction. If stitching along curves, follow the shape with your needle slant. We'll be stitching on the printed side of the fabric surface. Push the needle all the way in, then lift it just above the fabric. Punch again about 2 mm from the previous stitch. Make sure to always insert the full length of the needle. That way, your loops on the back will be the same length. Each stitch should be about 2 mm long, just enough. Avoid making stitches too dense, or it'll get bulky and hard to work with. While stitching, keep feeding the yarn, and don't press down on it. Avoid placing things over the yarn, as that can pull it tight. If it's too tight, the stitches may slip out. When punching a detail, punch outline the shape first. Then fill it in using a spiral motion toward the center. Stitches should sit side by side, not on top of one another. This keeps the fabric evenly filled, without making it bulky. Check the back from time to time, so you can fix mistakes early. To finish a stitch, lift the needle, hold the yarn, and snip it. Before practice, here are some beginner mistakes to avoid. Problem 1. The yarn slips out of the fabric after stitching. This can happen if the needle was not pushed all the way in. Short loops don't hold well and come out easily. Always insert the needle fully to create secure loops. Another cause, the yarn is too tight while you stitch. You may have forgotten to feed more yarn from the ball, or something was pressing on the yarn, making it stuck. Check for knots or remove any items pressing on the yarn. Third cause, incorrect threading dot. Yarn must pass through the tip hole. If it doesn't, it won't hold dot. Rethread the needle correctly. If you need to redo a section, gently pull out the stitches. Lightly scratch the fabric surface to close up large holes, then stitch over it again, as needed. But be careful, redoing too many times will wear the fabric out. So always follow the instructions carefully before starting. Problem 2. The loop side comes undone too easily. This usually happens when the stitches are packed too tight. Too many loops make the back bulky, and the needle may pull them out. So keep each stitch about 2 mm long. Another reason, you're pushing into old stitches by accident. Always aim your needle toward unstitched fabric while punching. After finishing a fluffy section, trim any uneven loops with scissors. This won't affect the design, just makes it neater.
We'll start with the fur on the front side of the Sloth. When embroidering, we'll stitch the outline first, then gradually fill it in using a spiral pattern. The stitches should be 1 to 2 mm apart. When you're starting out, embroider slowly to get used to the hand movements, then speed up gradually. This helps avoid uneven or gapped stitches that aren't smooth or tight. The stitches will lie next to each other, but not pressed too tightly, to ensure the fabric is fully covered without being too bulky. Next, we'll embroider the flower on the sloth's body, using the same embroidery technique as before. We've almost finished the front side. The fluffy fur will look like this. Now let's embroider the face using the flat embroidery technique. To embroider the face, we'll start with the small details inside first, like the eyes, nose, mouth, and blush. Then move on to the eye bags and skin base. We'll start with the sloth's eyes. First, push the needle all the way through the fabric and pull the excess yarn to the back. Then lift the needle close to the fabric and push it down, about 3 to 4 millimeters from the first stitch. Continue lifting and pushing the needle down. However, this area doesn't need as dense stitches as the fur, to avoid bulkiness, and to make sure we don't run out of yarn. To finish the flat stitch, push the needle down on the last stitch. Hold the yarn tail at the back with your hand. Then lift the needle. Cut the yarn and pull the excess yarn to the back. While embroidering, keep in mind, only lift the needle close to the fabric, to avoid raised yarn loops. If you accidentally lift it too high, gently pull the yarn tail to tighten it before stitching, and embroider slowly to get used to it before speeding up. For each detail, we'll embroider the outline first and gradually fill inward, similar to the fluffy stitch before. After finishing the small details, we'll embroider the eye bags and the face background of the sloth. For stitches near the fluffy part, you can use your hand to push the fluff aside to insert the needle more easily. These stitches should be close to the fluffy part, but not too close, as it might snag and ruin the fluff. Still follow the principle of outlining first, then gradually filling inward in a spiral pattern. Now the face of our fluffy sloth is complete. Flip it over and trim the excess threads on the back to neaten it. Next, we'll embroider the hand details, using the fluffy embroidery technique. To make the fabric more secure and prevent it from unraveling, let's apply fabric glue over it. Be careful not to apply the glue too thickly, so it can dry faster and still cover all the parts evenly. While waiting for the glue to dry, we'll embroider the back of the sloth using the fluffy stitch. After embroidering, apply glue on the back just like the front. Here's the result after the glue has dried. We'll use scissors to cut along the dotted lines marked on the fabric, to prepare for stitching. Cut a thread about 70 centimeters long. Separate it into 2 strands and thread the needle. Then tie a knot at one end. First, we'll sew the sloth's body. Place the 2 right sides of the body together. Stitch the 2 body pieces together along the edge using a backstitch. Remember to leave an opening of about 8 centimeters so we can turn it inside out later. If you leave too small an opening, it will be difficult to turn it right side out. Since we didn't embroider the sloth's legs, you can sew the legs directly as you would on fabric. After sewing, we will notch the seam, so that when turning inside out, the fabric won't bunch up. Be careful not to cut into the legs, everyone. When turning the fabric inside out, do it slowly. Turn and gently push the fabric out with your fingers. Don't pull too hard to avoid pulling out yarn or stitches. Once turned inside out, we will stuff it with kodo and sew the remaining open edge using an invisible stitch. The invisible stitch isn't too hard. Please look carefully at my demonstration. Insert the needle from inside out close to the edge of the embroidery. Insert the needle to the opposite side and bring it out a guy, about 3 to 5 millimeters ahead. Continue inserting the needle back to the opposite side, and bring it out again about 3 to 5 millimeters ahead like before. After sewing a bit, we'll pull the thread a little tight to make the stitches snug and invisible. Next, we'll sew the two arms. Since the arms are small and hard to turn inside out, we'll sew them using the invisible stitch from the start. I have demonstrated this technique clearly above. Please watch carefully my demonstration in the video again. Remember to leave an opening for stuffing before sewing it closed. Remember to leave an opening for stuffing before sewing it closed. After finishing the two arms, we'll attach them to the sloth's body. Note, only sew at one point to create a joint, so the arms can move flexibly. Insert a stitch into the center of the arm. Position both arms onto the body. Then insert the needle to the opposite position on the body and stitch horizontally about 5 millimeters. Continue stitching to the opposite center of the arm and return the needle to the starting point. That way we'll get a thread loop like this. Pull the thread so both body parts are joined closely. Repeat this stitch about 2 to 3 times to make the joint more secure. With this sewing method, the sloth's arms can move more flexibly. Finally, we'll sew the claws onto the hands and feet, using tight backstitch, and we're done. So we've finished making our super cute sloth. Feel free to message me if you encounter any difficulties during the process. Goodbye and see you in the next videos.